Hello, my name is Ron Raghi, and I'm a professor of clinical psychology at the University of Rochester. Before I go any further, I need to acknowledge and thank my amazing collaborators, Ying Lin and Dina Phillips Swanson. Without them, I wouldn't have this data to show. Over the last couple of years, I've developed and been validating the Unified Flexibility and Mindfulness Model, UFM. This model takes process measures from the mindfulness literature and the ACT literature and integrates them into a three-stage process explaining how events can affect individual well-being and how flexibility and mindfulness can buffer or exacerbate that. Last year, we published data from 2,700 subjects testing the UFM model, and we were able to show that the model cross-replicates across random sample halves and remains stable across men and women, different age groups, and different levels of current meditation. That model shows us that mindful lenses, helping people be aware of their experiences, were strongly linked to flexible responding, acceptance, selfless content diffusion, which were strongly linked to value-driven action, which were most proximally linked to well-being. So we found support for the UFM model. Now, aside from this, Amara wrote a review of the mindfulness literature, trying to link it back to the Buddhist teachings. And he identified three fundamental forms of mindfulness in Buddhist writings: mechanistic, informed, and holistic, and argued that much of the research in the mindfulness literature is really just looking at forms of mechanistic or rudimentary forms of mindfulness. I got excited when I read this paper because the UFM model seemed to embody those different forms of mindfulness. What Amara referred to as mechanistic, we called mindful lenses. What Amara referred to as informed or right mindfulness mapped onto our flexible responding. And by including value-driven, or what the Buddhists would call ethical behavior, our model as a whole was representative of holistic mindfulness. This suggests that what we've been calling mindfulness what we've been calling flexibility in the ACT literature might actually be referred to as more advanced forms of mindfulness by Buddhist monks. Consistent with this, in that paper we published last year, when we compared non-meditators, the pink line, with people who routinely practice Buddhist forms of meditation, the purple line, we found that the people practicing Buddhist meditation were far higher on all of the dimensions of mindful flexibility in the UFM, and were notably lower on all of the dimensions of mindless inflexibility. So in the current study, we wanted to test a Buddhist-informed UFM model and link these dimensions of flexible mindfulness to aspects of Buddhist teaching. We had a sample of 2,000 online respondents drawn from America, China, Japan, and Taiwan. We used standard measures to assess aspects of Buddhism, flexibility, distress, and well-being. And we built path models, cross-sectional path models. We constrained them to be stable across culture groups and across Buddhist versus non-Buddhist, and still got excellent fit. And what we found is that overall Buddhist thought was linked to mindful lenses and to flexible responding, as we proposed. And we also found interesting links between specific aspects of Buddhist teaching and the dimensions of mindful flexibility within the UFM model. As a result, this starts to suggest that even though it wasn't developed out of Buddhist teaching, psychological flexibility is incredibly consistent with Buddhist teaching and might represent some more advanced forms of mindfulness. And the by UFM represents a conceptual framework for testing that in future studies. This was from cross-sectional data, and it was a correlational study. It was entirely self-report, and there are many more aspects of Buddhism and mindful flexibility that we can look at. But we are very excited about these findings. Thank you.